Now that's a trick. Lightning got drawn down by the coins in his shirt pocket. Maybe. What you carry can have far-reaching effects. The night of the monsoon party, I didn't have any pockets, but as John approached along the rainy Corrales path, his pockets jingling announced him. I knew the sound well after so many replays of our few memories. There was the bus stop morning when we peered out at the white early sky, sharing the bench, and I could have sworn I heard his thoughts clinking. Dawn birds sang and John's thoughts tinkled as we created a kind bus stop intimacy, taking in the day. Once I'd gotten off at my stop for work, I realized it must have been his pocket shifting with his breathing, but I loved that morning when I believed his thinking made the clinkings. Then one time at the New Mexico State Fair, I spotted him from the air when I was circling in the Ferris wheel, and I learned something. John's boots might have a confident stride, but whenever he had a choice to turn left or right or risk his life on a roller coaster, he left his fate to heads or tails. He had the noble mystery of a traveler, but he was somehow local. I did a triple take when his antique Ford truck pulled up at my dad's stable and he became a summer ranch hand. I'd catch him sometimes doing magic tricks under the grandfather cottonwoods in the dirt parking lot. He'd pull a coin from behind someone's ear, make it disappear with a turn of his wrist, and reveal it somehow in his other hand. He could make a coin spin and levitate in the air, and I never knew how he did it. He could do it with bottle caps, too. Seemed like half the time he had a coin rippling over his fingers, trickling up and down. When he turned his head, I checked him for invisible wiring. I learned to puppeteer at Hema's summer camp, and it gave me ideas, but John's tricks didn't rely on fishing line. I was intrigued, but a bit shy, so it was easier to just rush to work and walk past him. But the day the summer's long drought finally broke, so did my patience with bad routines. I quit my hostess job at Country Kitchen, cut up my polyester dress along with a pile of other old uniforms, and sewed them together into a paneled A-line skirt. It turned out cute, and I wore it the next night to the monsoon party. I never expected to see John there. By the time he arrived, clinking up the path to the old soccer field, the party was packed with folks from the nearby ranches and small towns. The rain poured as we crowded in the candlelit yurt, but I still heard him approach, and then he bent his head under the low door and joined us in the circle. Thunder broke, and people laughed and screamed as an electric storm came on strong. Lightning branched across the sky, and John rose from our circle and wandered off, like he just couldn't stay away from those attraction lines. He strode into the field with his hands raised to the flashing sky. No one else noticed him, but I leaned back, watching. It was like he had found the original currents that fueled his tricks. He stood beneath the white crackling, his mouth open to catch a drink of rain. It was totally silent when the lightning bolt struck. A flash, John's arms outstretched, his hair straight up, eyes bright as pennies. The bolt winked out with a shaking, sonic boom, and he crumpled like a dollar bill tossed down. I bunched up my skirt of old uniforms, already heavy with rain, and slid to my knees in the grass and red dirt with my skirt fanned round where he lay steaming. His eyelashes dripped, and rain plocked on his soaked western shirt. Thinking the worst, I started a prayer, but that John sure has a charmed life. He coughed out a puff of smoke and sat up, mystified. Years of my disappointment in the world dissolved. The gravity of life's tragedies lifted as I looked at him alive there in front of me, And I said, "No, that's a trick." "My chest," he whispered. A trickle of smoke curled through his pearled buttons. As the raindrops hit, I popped his line of button snaps and yanked his shirt off. Lightning crashed and his chest shone in the light. I touched him and he moaned. On his chest, my fingers slid across metal. The coins claimed him. They must have loved him too. In the darkness, just to the left of his breastbone, I saw a melted pool of silver, faintly heart-shaped. He touched it with his fingertips, stupefied as he looked at me. I helped him to his feet while the downfall continued. He kept staring, lips parted. "You're okay?" I asked. The melted silver heart on his chest winked with his breathing, reflecting lights, like a tossed-up coin flipping in midair. Why did I feel like I was asking if he'd love me? "Can't tell yet," he said. I chewed the inside of my cheek, nodded. I picked up a coin from the wet grass and stuck it under my waistband. He watched me, then smiled like a show's finale. Yeah, definitely," he corrected. And my heart was a sparkler in the night. That's how I remember it anyway. The way love hits, it's frighteningly dramatic. Everything turns to poetry and impact, at least briefly. I still carry that coin I picked up that night, years after John and I grew up and into different people. Life changes, but even now I still always sew a little pocket in my skirts and dresses. We have choices about what we carry with us. I carry my enchantment.